Welcome back to the Fish Sauce Podcast with Adam. I have here tonight Ken Bird of Boring Fisherman. Ken, do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Sure, yeah. Just another fisherman. I'm a YouTuber. My channel really sucks, but
I hear it's pretty boring.
it is boring, hence my name, Boring Fisherman. Actually, my channel name originally was Little K's Outdoor Life, because Little K was kind of like my business name. But I changed it because Little K's Outdoor Life was hard to remember.
And Boring Fisherman is very memorable.
Boring Fisherman's a lot more memorable and hopefully easier to find.
Definitely. So what kind of stuff do you do on your channel?
Well, boats, fishing, motorcycle burnouts, a little bit of everything, but I'm going to try to focus more on fishing and the boat, because I do a whole lot of boat stuff. I kind of do boat repair as a side business type thing. That's kind of where the Little K came from.
Yeah, you're kind of infamous around Tillamook, from what I hear.
Yeah,
I mean, at least according to Captain Dan of the Eagle Charters.
Yeah, Captain Dan, he's always sending people to me.
And he's always talking you up too.
Yeah, well, my reputation speaks for itself, I guess.
Yeah. He's like, that fucker can fix anything. You say him anything, he'll get it fixed for you.
Yeah, well, I used to have a saying that you leave me alone with enough iron and a welder, I'll build you a skyscraper.
Nice. So what kind of fishing do you guys do out there?
I do a little bit of salmon fishing. I call salmon cat food, so cat food fishing. I don't do a whole lot of it.
Why do you call it cat food?
It's just something my grandpa always called it, so it kind of stuck. Salmon, cat food. It's just kind of an old family joke.
Nice.
I try to keep little things like that of my grandpa alive now that he's gone. Kind of like this tattoo.
Right.
We used to sea bass fish off of the jetty together and go down to Three Arch. We'd leave out of Garibaldi and run south to Three Arch and do bottom fishing, and that was something we always did. So I found a tattoo artist that would mix some of his ashes in the outline of this tattoo here.
That's badass.
It's a sea bass for those of you on the podcast who can't see it. I'm also filming this for my YouTube as well. If you want to see that, it'll be at Boring Fisherman, and it will be titled as Podcast with Adam of Fish Sauce.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, sea bass, I guess really haven't had it until last year, but it's grown as one of my favorite fish to eat. Like, comparing it to lingcod, I mean, everyone goes for lingcod because it's like trophy fish, but sea bass is delicious, man.
It is. I like eating sea bass.
So
I've
good,
got
so
a bunch
flaky.
of different recipes for it, which I'll probably introduce you to one of them the next time you're out.
Can you share it on the podcast? Or is it a secret?
Oh
Family
yeah,
secret?
big super family secret that I found from PK Yee, who now goes by Oregon Life on YouTube. It was his recipe originally, and then I modified it. It's mushrooms sautéed, and then I cut up poblano peppers and cook in with it, onions and garlic, and those little chilies that I grow in the garden that burn everybody.
What chilies are those?
They're called a purple glow in the dark. Our local nursery kind of hybridized them, I guess. They're just tiny little purple chilies.
Little butt burners?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah. I can eat them with a straight face, and other people think, oh, they can't be that bad, and they eat them, and then they're on fire.
Dude, I can handle some heat, but the older I get, the less I want to handle that heat.
Yeah.
Like, I used to go... You ever done that one chip challenge?
No, but I want to.
Oh, I did it. And, like, I kept a straight face, but I had this, like... My body just went into, like, not compulsion, but, like, I was sweating out of my face, like, my eyes were running, my nose was running. My brother, totally straight face didn't turn red, no sweat, did it just fine. And
Perfect.
Oh, God. I can't do it. I like heat, but it's just, the older I get, the less I want to do it. But then, if there's Thai food involved, fucking bring on the heat, dude. 5-star every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be doing that, like, reverse blow when I'm eating it. You know.
Yeah. Super heat. I made some crab ramen that way one time. We got that yakisoba noodles or whatever they are, the little red package that have the chili sauce in them. And they're pretty warm on their own for being noodles out of a package. Then I put a whole bunch of red chili flakes in them and some crab meat.
Oh, yeah?
I made like a spicy crab ramen out in the yard one day.
Sounds so good.
Boiled it on the burner on the barbecue because couldn't have it in the house, you know, because it's spicy stuff.
Right.
But it was pretty hot.
I can see that. So, what kind of fishing do you have? I guess you already asked you this.
You started to, then we got sidetracked.
So, what kind of fishing do you do out in Tillamook?
I do a little bit of salmon fishing. A lot of guys do a lot of salmon fishing there. I'm starting to get back into it a little bit.
Have you caught any salmon lately?
I caught one salmon this year, a couple of Thursdays ago. It's on my channel. It's, I think 55 seconds long, and it's the last of my fight, and then Paul netting the fish.
So what'd you catch it on?
Flying sea spinner. I actually had switched over to trout gear because we were down in the Tidewater, and weren't catching nothing, bobber and eggs, and we trolled a little bit, weren't catching nothing, and anchored up in this one hole. And I'd all but gave up on springer fishing because, you know, springers.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. And so I got my other rod out, 12-pound mono, big noodly rod, same one I use on the jetty. Tied on a size 4 Mepps Flying Sea that was red with a white blade. So basically I was expecting just to go through the motions, not actually catch anything, and like third cast in, whack, here's this springer.
You're catching it on trout gear.
On oversized trout gear.
That's
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun with 12-pound line, trying to keep that fish contained in that hole with snags in every direction. The water was pretty clear, the tide was out, it was right around slack tide. I mean, you could see the logs in the water. I was just waiting for that fish to go around when it break that mono off.
Did you have to
We got it.
Did you have to thumb the line or anything, or I guess you have to thumb spinning gear, but
You can't really thumb on
kinda
a
palm
spinning
it.
reel, but no, I just played the drag, left it kind of loose, and it was all of about a 4-minute fight, and that fish was all tucked out.
that's awesome.
Nice little hand.
So what exactly is Tidewater?
Tidewater, so you've got, like out in the Tillamook area, you've got the 5 rivers that feed into Tillamook Bay. You've got the Trask, the Tillamook, the Wilson, the Kilchis, and the Miami rivers. And they all have their own characteristics and personalities and their own separate runs. Like the Tillamook River doesn't get any chum, but the Miami does, kind of thing. So you've got the river where it comes down, and then there's like a riffle. It's the last riffle that's not affected by the tide. From there to the mouth of that river at the bay is Tidewater.
Okay. So it's kind of like the in-between stages between the bay and the actual river itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Tidally influenced water. A bunch of them have sloughs, go back and forth between the rivers. Like, you can put in it the one mud ramp that my new boat is too big to put in at now. This one would go.
Let's do it.
No, we should. But you can go from there and go down the river, and there's some skinny spots. You know, you probably have to trim your motor up pretty good to get through some of those spots. But you
That's fine.
go down
my,
that.
my prop will cut right through it.
Yeah. I've seen the results of that. We're going to talk prop here in a little bit. But you go down that river, and then before you get to the mouth at the bay, there's a slough that we call the ditch, which is the original Trask River.
Okay.
And you go up that slough if you've got a small enough boat and know the way well enough, which I don't. I'll get us stuck. But you can go down that slough, and it'll feed you into the Trask River, where they cut the new Trask River way back in like the 40s or something. I don't remember when it was, but they used to run tugboats and stuff up and down there with barges full of lumber. We used to have a lumber mill where Rosenberg's is, and they'd run container ships, well, not container ships, but like barges and tugboats clear up into town, into sloughs.
Oh shit.
Back in the day, it was real cool. There's a way, which you could probably only go by kayak now, to go from the Wilson River all the way to the Trask by water.
Really?
And that's like a 25-minute drive.
And how long of a kayak ride?
I have no idea. I've never done it, and I don't have kayaks anymore.
Fair enough. I got one in the backyard for you.
I don't need it.
So I haven't really heard much about the Miami or the Kilchis. Are they just kind of dead fisheries, or is it just too small for people to fish?
No, the guys who fish those, they kind of have tight mouths about it.
So tell me all about it on this podcast.
Yeah, no problem. I'll tell you all about it. Actually, the Kilchis is where I lost my backpack last fall. That day I showed you that picture of that dark buck
Yeah.
that I caught. that same day, I was fishing this cliff behind the rock, the gravel pile. And my wife, she was like way up on the cliff, because me and my wife do everything together, plus that woman. And I was clear down the cliff by the water, and it's steeper than shit. And I'm down there with my fishing pole, well, both of them, my bobber rod and my spinner rod. And she's way up on the cliff, and she goes to get into the backpack, which has all of our, what I call upriver gear. And she slips, starts falling down that cliff, kicks that backpack, it tumbles into the river. I almost lost my wife to the river that day, but didn't. And I tried to chase that backpack and hook it with a spinner, but I couldn't get it. I was not about to dive into 38-degree water to chase it down.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
But the kelches, they get a decent run in the fall. They get a little run, a little shot of chum. Usually around Halloween is when that starts or ends or something. I don't know. I remember Halloween and catching chum up there.
Have you ever caught a chum?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, chum are a lot of fun.
That's one of the few fish that is still on my bucket list that I haven't got yet.
I could probably put you on one this year.
Chum and pinks, I would love that.
Michael Pitts, we put him on his first chum salmon and his first salmon on a fly in the same day on Miami before the landowners closed it for public.
I'm going fishing with Michael Pitts on Saturday.
Hey, he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. Super nice guy.
Real good dude. When my Honda car got stolen, well, I don't know, it's been a handful of years back, 5, 6 years now, I guess. They stole all my fishing gear that was in it, and my fishing rods and everything, and I was just, it was the Saturday before Halloween, and I was just out of it, because that's like when I'm doing the upriver fishing.
Right.
Anyway, he reached out to me, because I put a reward up on Facebook, and he reached out to me through Fishing Addicts, and he gave me and my wife a couple of fishing poles, and a handful of lures, and a fillet knife.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that's actually the bobber rod that I use to this day.
No shit.
Oh shit.
That's got some
Love
good
that
juju.
thing. And it's got that Kalex 65 with the left-hand retrieve.
Okay.
Sweet little reel, I love that.
Awesome.
It's actually in another video on my YouTube. That's the rod I was using when I hooked that sturgeon that I broke off in one of my older videos.
Did you get it in Tidewater or?
Yeah, I got it at Gilligan's Island, which is a hole in the Tillamook River.
Were you on a 3-hour tour?
Yes. And actually, right before my wife started filming me, again, because I do everything with my wife, we just got off the phone with Casey Wilson, who owns Ling Ling Stack of Box in Tillamook.
Yeah.
Got off the phone with him and told him to come out and fish with us, and he's all like, "No, man, I'm grabbing some fried chicken." Fried chicken? Man, I got a fish on. Come hang out.
Nice. So tell me about props. I'm for how long I've been boating, I still know nothing about props. I don't know anything about pitch angle, how many blades, aluminum versus steel or stainless steel. Like, where do I start? If I were to want to reprop my boat and I wanted more top end, what would I do?
Well, to gain top end, you lose everything on the bottom.
Okay.
So for every 1 inch of diameter, that's a bigger round measurement, is 500 RPM, and for every inch of pitch is 200 RPM. You go up in diameter, you lose 500 RPM for every inch.
Okay.
You go up in pitch, and you lose 200 RPM for every inch, is the formula. A good example I can give you is when I was putting my aluminum weld together with that E-Tac, I started out with I want to say it was like a 15 by 17, 15 inch diameter by 17 pitch. And my boat made its RPM range like 5,700, 5,800 RPM, which is at the top of its RPM range. And it was in the high 30s, not quite 40 miles an hour. But my bottom end really sucked. The whole shot wasn't all that great. And
So it took a long time to get on plane?
yeah,
Okay.
and my maneuverability in the boat basin, which is really important to me, because I'm more.
Oh, because you're just
in and out of the boat
pushing water
basin.
when you're
Yeah.
kind of at an angle.
It,
Okay.
it was just impossible to get in and out of the boat basin with any ease and not looking like a total noob,
Right.
which you can't have that.
Right.
And then I switched to a 16-inch diameter, 13 pitch. So I went up an inch and lost 500 RPM, and down 4 inches in pitch. So I gained 4 of those 500 RPM back.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's. Anyway, it worked out where I'm at
So
5,800
so you kind of
RPM.
find a happy medium there where you can
Right.
still move around the marina, but still have a good top end.
Yeah, and when I changed that prop, the bigger diameter and the smaller pitch, the handling characteristics at idle speed or trolling speed greatly increased. I mean, you turn the wheel, put it in gear, that boat's going where you ask it to. There's no waiting, there's no powering into it, there's no full throttle in reverse to make it turn, it just does what you ask it to. The whole shot's impressive, as you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think got some giddy up.
But I lost a couple miles an hour off of my top end, and I'm totally cool with that. It's not a race boat, it's work boat.
Right, yeah.
So,
in most cases, you can't really go flat out anyways, nor do you want to, or put the stress on the engine and all that kind of stuff too.
yeah, well, that E-Tech, it likes to run
Yeah.
when it runs.
All right, so I want to circle back to fishing. So I haven't done much jetty fishing at all, specifically like boat jetty fishing.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
know you're
something that I have like perfected.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know you're the master of it.
I don't know about the master, but I think I'm okay. When the fish are there, I can usually catch them.
He's being home.
Yeah.
So
I'd be
so
okay.
tell me about like how you set up your rod, what rod you're using, how far off the jetty, like just.
Well, you get as close to the jetty as you're comfortable with.
Okay.
I mean, if the water's calm enough and it's, you know, if you're at a slack tide and the current ain't moving and it ain't windy and there's no swell, you can put your nose right into the rocks and jig right into the rocks.
Right.
I'm normally never that close, but I have played bumper cars with the rocks. It happens to everybody. I just use a spinning rod, like a steelhead rod, or like a bass rod, kind of shorter, so it's easier to manage in the boat. I like a shorter rod in the boat.
See, I always go towards longer rods.
Well, long rod, short rod, fat rod, you know, whatever.
I heard girth is more important than length.
Well, there's rumors about it. My favorite rod that I ever used out of the boat, that I don't use because I've retired, because I've been fishing that rod for like 12 years, was a 7-foot Shakespeare Tiger spinning rod, 8 to 17. I ran like 15-pound mono on it, and that was like my favorite rod for jigging out of the boat. But I retired it. It's old, and well, it's old. I don't want to break it.
Right.
I bring it out on special occasions. The rod I use now, it's an 8-foot. It's an 8-foot ugly, or not an ugly stick. It's a tiger claw. No, eagle claw.
Eagle.
That's it.
Okay.
Eagle claw. It was one that my grandpa had that I'd inherited, and I stuck one of those Okuma Seamar size 40 spinning reels on it. And I've got it spooled up with 12 or 17-pound mono. But I just tie like a 1/2-inch jig on there, and I put on one of those Gulp swimming mullet, or not swimming, yeah, the swimming mullets or the swimming shad, the ones with the little fork tail.
Okay.
Black and white are the colors that I've noticed work the best, and those Gulp baits that put out that smell really work. But if the water's a little rougher, there's a little more current, I'm a little further off the rocks, and I'm casting at the jetty and letting it sink, and when I feel it hit the rocks, I start jigging it. And then I let more line out and let it sink until it's at the bottom, and then I vertical jig it. And I'm watching that depth finder like the whole time, and watching the rocks and the motor and other boats, and watching for crab pots. You got to keep your head on a swivel.
Right.
Shit can go bad in a hurry doing that. Ask my wife; she knows. She's seen it. First trip out with my new outboard, actually, I kissed the rocks. That new Honda, but. Yeah, so you'll just cast it at the jetty, and you'll kind of just point the rod, and you'll feel it as it's sinking. You'll feel it hit, and you'll grab the line and you'll pick it up, and you just let it sink. Because
So you're pretty much just running down the rocks.
You're running down the rocks, yeah. And you'll feel those fish hit, and they hit on the drop, and usually when they hit, they're violent.
Right.
They're an ambush predator, and they just come out and smack it. You're gonna know either your line's gonna go totally limp, or you're gonna feel that there's a fish on.
Right.
And you just close the bail, set the hook on them, and bring the fish.
Okay.
Now, when you're vertical jigging, which I vertical jig out there a lot, I've got a couple of spots that I know that I have on my depth finder that have certain bits of structure on the bottom, like a certain amount of kelp to a certain amount of rocks that are placed in a certain direction from the little finger jetties.
Sure.
There on
So
the
you're
south
going
side.
opposite side of which way the current's going.
Yeah, the downstream side, and you're looking for structure on the bottom with kelp. So you want a hard structure, but you want kelp on it, and you want it on the downstream side of the finger jetty, so that you get that swirl going on in there, and that's where all the bait likes to hang out, so that's where the fish hang out.
And also fish are lazy and they don't want to sit.
Yeah, and they're lazy.
Yeah.
Fish are lazy. They're lazier than me.
That'd be
So-
both shaker, but
Yeah. but it's kind of like a second nature to me now. It's kind of hard to explain. You got to get out there and find the spots, learn where the fish like to be.
What kind of depth are you fishing there?
30 to 60, depending on where I'm at out there on the jetty. There's a hole that I fish that's not at the jetty, but has like a pinnacle that's like 13 feet deep on a low tide. But
is that outside the bar?
No, that's inside.
Oh, okay.
That's inside. But on the inland side of that pinnacle, there's like a big crevice in the ground that's like 60, 70 feet deep for 500 yards. And I'll drop like 4 ounces of lead down there with a couple of sand shrimp on like size 4 hooks, and I'll catch this big greenling in there. And I've caught sea bass in there on jigs. You don't catch as much sea bass on bait, but I like eating this greenling too, so I like to throw bait out. Just kind of change it up.
So taste wise, how are greenling compared to like a sea bass?
A little bit more mild.
Texture wise.
Well, they're tighter grain, but they're a softer fish, and they're more delicate. They break apart easier. You got to be a little bit more careful with them in the fry pan.
Right.
But they're a little bit more mild, I think, than a sea bass. But when you get them seasoned up, they're just
right. What about like how often do you go outside the jetty? And what kind of conditions are you looking for when you're crossing the bar in your boat?
soft tidal exchanges. This weekend I was thinking about trying to go out. My dad wants to take his boat out. I was going to follow him in my limb well. We were going to go out and troll for silvers. But we've got like a 13-foot tide exchange.
Holy
so
shit.
We're staying home.
Yeah. That current's gonna be ripping out of there.
Yeah, especially where it bottlenecks there in the bay. I've seen standing breakers right there on the corner between Cab Harbor and Kitchelow Point.
Yeah.
Standing breakers, not moving, just big breaker in the current right there. It gets gnarly. So when you're going out, you want a softer tide exchange. You don't want a whole bunch of wind swell, and you want to hit it like when the tide is slack and the water lays down.
So going, coming and going during slack tides if you can.
If you can.
Yeah.
It's always sketchy when you're in the middle between tide exchange.
Right.
So if you're like halfway through an outgoing and you've got a raging outgoing and you've got a wind swell in the ocean going the other way, that bar is ugly.
Oh, I bet.
Like bad.
You're in stuff.
So you always want to pick your days. I mean, I live at the coast. I have a boat in moorage. I can go whenever the hell I want. I don't have to go out on an ugly bad day.
Right.
I'm not as invested in it as a lot of people. Probably most of the people listening to your podcast are going to watch this video. Most of those people, they're like you. They live in not the coast.
It's a trip, and damn it, I'm getting out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to drag this boat for 3 hours one way. I got all this money in it. Bar's open. I'm going. I've known guys like that.
Yeah.
And I've been stuck on the boat out there with them before, getting beat up because they wanted me to go with them. And sometimes that's fun. Sometimes it really sucks.
Yeah. I had Coast Guard stop me. It was Thanksgiving last year. And I was out at Newport. And I wasn't planning on going that far. I was just trying to go to the first finger jetty.
I think I remember that trip.
Yeah. And I got out there, and I go to drop my first pot, and the Coast Guard goes broadside to me. He gets on their loudspeaker, "Do not go any further." And I'm like, okay. So they come closer to me, and they're like, "Dude, it doesn't look that bad out there, but it's 15-foot swells inside the jetty." And I'm like, noted. I won't be going any further. I'll drop my pots here.
I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to go in.
And I'm not fishing, and I won't go past the bridge there because I don't want to die.
Yeah, I was actually hanging out with Dan Rocha one time. We were just running his
Captain Dan of Eagle Charters.
Captain Dan of Eagle Charters. Yeah, if you guys get the chance, definitely book a trip with those guys.
Dude, it's so much fun.
It is fun every time. Their boats are super fishy, and they just go beyond to make sure you have a good time.
Yeah, and it's dory boat fishing. So if you know what dory boat fishing is, you're launching from the beach. So they back that boat right up into the water. There's waves crashing over the bow. They flip the boat around. Captain hops in the boat. You go over the breakers, and you're not even 2 minutes from the fishing grounds.
Yeah, dude, it is a rush. It is its own experience.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to do it with my boat because I got that Mod V with the flat bottom, but I know it's a bad idea.
Going out probably wouldn't be so bad. Coming back in, you probably...
It would stick.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be no sliding on the beach. It would
No.
just be a stick. So when you land on the beach in a dory, and the motor kicks up like it's supposed to, and all the stars line up, and the captain does a good job at timing the swell, which is most of the time. I mean, there's times that you botch it and you end up just stuck. But when you land on the beach and that boat slides, so you're like surfing. You're surfing the swell in, and you're surfing that breaker. That breaker falls down out from under you, and the captain just pins it, and you're in that shallow, swirly water that's literally right between the sand and the breakers. And you're in that water, and he's just pinned, and that motor starts kicking up. You hear the motor rev up, shuts the key off, and you're just on plane. And then all of a sudden, you're just sliding on the sand, and then you just come to a nice stop right up on the beach.
Perfect.
Just jump out of the boat. Don't even get your feet wet.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun, and it was also crazy. So I was out with them last week, and we did that 2-minute run out to the fishing grounds. We dropped lines. First rod in the water gets a triple immediately.
Oh yeah.
3 fish on. Next rod, I didn't even get to the bottom yet. I had a fish on. I reeled back up. Halfway up, I feel like I got heavier. Got another fish on, so I got 2 fish. We got our limit of black bass in probably 30 to 45 minutes. And
That
then
was everybody on the boat, wasn't it?
everybody on the boat, 20 fish. No, actually, what we did is we kept a few fish for our quota, just because we were going to run over to the lingcod grounds and incidentally still catch a few, and we wanted to be able to still catch a few. So we went to the lingcod grounds, and it was a little slow, and then the wind started picking up, but I still ended up getting a probably 20-pound lingcod.
That was a nice one in the picture.
Oh God, it was nice. I'm excited to eat that. But yeah, about as fun of fishing as you can do. So hit up Eagle Charters.
Definitely an experience.
Yeah.
But that day I was with Dan. It was me and him and another friend of his, because I've known Dan. I went to school with this kid, Joey, Captain Joey of Eagle Charters. I went to school with him. I rode the school bus with him. I've known that family for a long time. So we were out running the boat with the new motor in the bay, kind of like a shakedown run. And the bar was closed, Coast Guard was out there, and it was ugly, and we were kind of out there where I do my jetty fishing, screwing around doing my jetty fishing out of the dory. And the Coast Guard comes up to us and says, yeah, it's closed beyond this point, you guys need to turn around. But yeah, I've had a similar experience to that one you had in Newport.
Yeah. They're really nice about it, and
Most of the time.
I'm glad they told me, because I was probably going to go out there and see what I could do, because I spent a week and a half before researching, just like going on Google Maps and watching videos and being like, okay, here's a finger jetty, here's another one, asking you 100 fucking questions.
So I don't mind answering any of your questions. You can find me on Facebook, Ken Bird. I'm in most of the fishing forums here in the Northwest. Addicted Fishing. I'm on Aluminum Boats Northwest. I'm on Tiny Boat Nation.
Been on Chrome.
Been on Chrome. You can't forget that one. There's several other ones that I'm on that I can't even remember, because I think I'm on all of them.
Yeah, and that's actually how we became friends. Is I posted asking some question about my old boat. No, actually, it was this boat. It was this boat when I had that 55 horse on there, and you kind of walked.
No, that was when we first met the first time. But I remember when you had that Miro craft we were talking about.
Oh yeah, because I busted a leaf spring in Tillamook, and I think you said something about it. I used like a dog toy and a ratchet strap to get that leaf spring back on and get me back home.
I think I remember helping somebody that I didn't know one time put a piece of firewood under their axle and ratchet strap it together to get home. It wasn't you, was it?
No. No, I used a dog toy. It was like a rocket-shaped dog toy, just because it was a piece of like hard plastic, but it had some rubber to it, so it gave some shock absorption. And I just wrapped the shit out of it with ratchet strap, tightened down as much as I could. Got me home just fine. I didn't go over probably 45 the whole way.
Well, that had to be a long drive.
Oh, it was a long drive, and I was having people pass me the whole way,
Honking at you.
honking at me,
flipping
and
you the
I'm like,
bird.
sorry man, I can't go any faster. I don't want to fucking ruin this thing. Well, oh, another time, it's not the first time I've had axle or suspension issues. Another time I have this, I had my Miracraft. I was coming back from Lake Merwin, and I'm going around a corner, and I ended up shredding a wheel bearing. I'm like, like, shit. So I drop the trailer off at the Ariel, it's like the former Ariel country store or whatever. Just a house now. I drop it off there and I talk to the guy. I'm like, hey, sorry, my boat broke down. Can I leave this here for a couple hours? He's like, sure, yeah, whatever. So I drive into town and I go buy wheel bearing. I told the guy, like, oh, it's this size. I brought it to him, but he couldn't check the inner bearings or whatever. So I drive all the way back out there. It's the wrong damn bearing. It's one side's larger than the other, kind of tapered bearing. So I'm like, fuck. What can I do? I have no way of getting this thing home. So I had another trailer at home that was this old, rusted up, the original Miracraft trailer I had. So I ended up ripping the axle off, just hoping, praying to God that it fits. And of course it didn't.
Oh no.
So I ended up, instead of bolting it to the leaf springs, I ended up bolting it straight to the axle, like a foot from the very end of the trailer. So this thing's sitting like, 6 inches off the ground. And
No suspension,
no suspension,
just tires.
This thing's bouncing over every little bump. And I took the back roads home and it's bouncy as shit, but I didn't want to have to be going 40 on the freeway. So I got it home and it looked ridiculous. I mean, it's
3 tires.
Yeah, no, it was sketchy, but it got me home.
Yeah, perfect. There's lots of different tricks you can do to get home. Firewood is a good one. Firewood usually fills the gap between the axle and the frame.
You can see that. Yeah.
And they sell firewood all over the place. There's always little stands on the side of the road. Just about every quarter mile you see a stand for firewood. $5 for a bundle of firewood.
$5 to get you home.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be MacGyver. I mean, that's part of owning a boat and being able to think on your toes and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Got anything else you want to say?
Oh, I don't know. You got any more questions?
I'm sure I do. I'm going to think of them as soon as we turn this podcast off.
Oh yeah, that always happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm real handy with boats. I actually put the motor on this boat that I'm sitting in right now, Adam's boat, 60 horse Evinrude, it's BRO. So I helped Adam out. He had like a 55 horse twin that was antiquated, and we got together and I helped him do the carburetors and a couple other things, and I think we put a cable on it that I had in my barn. So anyway, we made the thing go. We took it out in the bay, test ran it. It just wasn't enough motor. Tried changing props, made it worse. I was thinking that the smaller diameter thing would help, and that motor was just too sick.
It was just a turd. Yeah.
There wasn't enough motor, and there wasn't enough Band-Aid to make it right.
Yeah. And this thing's done me really well. I mean, other than the linkage popping off the second day I ever took it out, after we figured that out, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it should push this motor graph good.
Yeah, it does about 31 on a good day for no current. And I got a hell of a deal on it. I ended up buying I drove all the way up to Everett, which is just north of Seattle, to get it. I bought a whole boat for $1,000. Ended up selling like half the crap on it, making part of my money back. And
I know where that boat's sitting.
yeah, I was gonna say I ended up.
Yeah, you ended up selling me the trailer and trade for doing your labor.
Yeah, traded you the trailer for the labor, and you ended up recycling the boat for me, so it all worked out perfect.
Recycled the boat for you.
Yeah,
I actually put another motor on that. A friend of mine's still fishing out of it.
perfect. Recycled. That's awesome. Well, awesome, man. This has been really fun. I appreciate you coming on here and check out. I was gonna say Little K's Outdoors. That's your old channel. Check out Boring Fisherman. He's not so boring. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, give me some subscribes.
Yeah.